Imagine being taken from Earth and led by angels to the very edge of the impossible. We're not talking about a symbolic vision or a mere dream. We're talking about a man who, according to ancient forgotten manuscripts, was physically taken to the heavens one by one. He didn't just see paradise, he traversed 10 celestial levels, witnessed indescribable creatures, heard voices that uphold the universe, and stood before a throne so radiant that human words fail to describe it. And the most chilling part, he wrote it all down. These accounts aren't found in your traditional Bible. They are in a book hidden for centuries, banned by councils, feared by theologians, and sought after by scholars around the world, the Second Book of Enoch. Today, you're going to discover what he saw. You'll understand why the heavens aren't just a place, but a spiritual map of parallel realities, and what this has to do with the end times, and with you. While many view the universe as a random, empty space, Enoch saw something entirely different. He described the heavens as levels of a grand spiritual structure, where everything has order, purpose, and hierarchy, as if each layer were a sacred room within a cosmic temple. The modern mind, shaped by scientism, tends to reject this kind of vision. But is it really that far-fetched? Think of a hospital, a government, or even a company. Everything operates through levels, departments, chains of command. Enoch was revealing the same principle, just on a heavenly scale. It wasn't simply about going up to heaven, like riding an elevator to the top floor. Each heaven was a dimension with its own laws, specific beings, and defined purposes. It was as if each layer unveiled an aspect of divine justice, wisdom, or mercy, as if the entire universe were governed by a highly intelligent spiritual system. Have you ever noticed how this resembles the human body? We have skin, muscles, organs, internal systems, all interconnected and working in harmony, each part fulfilling its role. With Enoch's heavens, it was the same, layer upon layer, all tied to the will of God. This model challenges us to rethink the idea of spirituality as something vague. What Enoch saw was a celestial mechanism. And the most curious part is that, even without telescopes or technology, he described a cosmic order that, in many ways, echoes modern discoveries about galaxies, black holes, and invisible gravitational fields. Coincidence? Or has the Bible, with all its mysteries and revelations, always held the answers that science is still chasing? What if these spiritual layers are more real than the matter we can touch? Maybe what comes next will help you see it all from a different angle. The story of the Grigori isn't just about fallen angels, it's about choices. Enoch saw these beings, who once held exalted positions, fall because they desired what wasn't theirs. They had wisdom, closeness to God, but used their free will to break eternal laws. It's like that high-level executive who, despite having wealth and prestige, gets caught in corruption out of greed. The lesson is clear. The higher the position, the greater the responsibility, and the greater the fall. These angels didn't fall out of ignorance. They fell out of pride. They knew exactly what they were doing. They chose to unite with the daughters of men and broke away from their original mission. And here lies a crucial point. Free will is a gift, but also a weapon. How many times in real life do people full of potential lose themselves because they can't handle power, desire, or influence? It's not much different from what happened in the heavens. The Bible doesn't record this as a myth, but as a spiritual warning about the danger of disobedience. The mystery here is not just why they fell, but why, knowing they would fall, they still chose to fall. Enoch testifies that even the highest beings are held accountable for their decisions. No one, absolutely no one, is above divine justice. And that makes us reflect. What are we doing with the choices we have today? How are we using our freedom? And could what we're ignoring now become the very cause of our fall in the future? There are deeper lessons coming. and one of them involves something that almost no one notices about the purpose of spiritual revelations. Enoch kept nothing to himself. He could have remained silent, hidden his encounters with the heavens, protected his secrets. But he didn't. He wrote 366 books, leaving behind a spiritual legacy that has lasted for millennia. This shows us something powerful. True knowledge is never selfish. In the Bible, revelation is never meant for just one. It's meant to edify many. In times of misinformation, this sounds like a cry of responsibility. What you know, are you using it to help or to hide? Today, we live in an age where information travels faster than ever, but wisdom, that is rare. Enoch had visions that could have been lost in the dust of time, but God wanted them to be shared. It's like someone who discovers a cure and chooses to write a book, start a channel, or guide others. It's not about fame, it's about mission. And if you feel you carry a message, even a small one, know that staying silent might be the greatest spiritual mistake anyone can make. Think of the internet as a mirror of all this. You share memes, videos, opinions. But what about what really matters? Enoch used the platforms of his time, stone, papyrus, word, to warn, teach, and reveal mysteries. And us? Are we doing the same with the tools we have today? Maybe you won't write 366 books, but a single video, a conversation, a verse shared with pure intention can be the beginning of a spiritual revolution. And speaking of revolution, the moment is coming when heaven itself decided to intervene directly in Enoch's life. Among all the men on earth, God chose Enoch, a righteous man, discreet, who walked with him, to reveal the greatest mysteries of the universe. It wasn't because of status or appearance, it was because of intimacy. Like that employee no one notices, but who knows every detail of the company and is suddenly promoted straight to the boardroom. Enoch was summoned by God for a mission no other mortal ever had, to ascend through the 10 heavens and witness secrets even the angels didn't know. Imagine the impact of this. A man made of flesh and blood, walking where only celestial beings dared to tread. This isn't just about honor, it's about purpose. When God calls, he doesn't look at resumes. He looks at the heart. Enoch wasn't seeking recognition. He was seeking understanding. And that's precisely where the mystery lies. When you don't crave the spotlight, God entrusts you with the highest mission. How often are the answers we seek not connected to our position, but to our disposition? Enoch's calling reminds us that each of us can be set apart for something greater, as long as we are aligned with the will of the Most High. And you know what's most intriguing about all this? Enoch didn't ascend on his own. He was taken. By whom? How? What did he feel? What happened in the moments following his calling is the kind of experience that redefines everything we think we know about encounters with the sacred. Enoch was at home, like any other day, until 2 radiant beings appeared before him. They were not men. They weren't like the angels in paintings. They were like living torches with faces that seemed to glow with the glory of heaven itself. Their voices sounded like flaming thunder, and their presence froze everything around them. Enoch felt fear. And who wouldn't? But they said, "Do not be afraid." That's always how it is when heaven touches earth. First comes awe, then revelation. These beings didn't come by chance. They had a clear mission to announce that Enoch would ascend to the heavens and would only return when God allowed it. Here lies a profound detail. It wasn't Enoch who asked to go up. It was God who sent messengers to bring him. This shows that there are spiritual experiences you don't manufacture. You receive them. It's as if God was saying, "You've known me on earth. Now I want you to know heaven." And maybe on some level, each of us is invited to experience small ascensions when we make room for something beyond the routine. What's most curious is that after that encounter, nothing would be ordinary for Enoch again. When the supernatural invades the natural, there's no going back to where you started. And maybe the same is true for you. Have you ever had moments like that? A different kind of prayer, a presence in your room, a verse that seemed to shout at you. That might have been just the first step. Because what comes after the visitation is the crossing. And the first heaven Enoch saw held secrets that still leave us speechless to this day. Upon reaching the first heaven, Enoch didn't see fluffy clouds or angels playing harps. What he saw was a vast sea, much greater than any ocean on earth. It was like staring into the unknown and realizing the spiritual world is more immense than we've ever imagined. This sea wasn't made of ordinary water. It pulsed as if it were alive, and surrounding it were 200 angels guarding the commands of the stars. A breathtaking scene, one that evokes reverent awe. Enoch observed the celestial mechanisms that regulated things that seem simple to us, like the morning dew, the snow that falls in winter, the rain that nourishes the fields. Everything was stored like treasures in heavenly chambers. It's like discovering that even the drop of water that touches your face has a spiritual origin that changes how you perceive the everyday. Instead of seeing only natural phenomena, you begin to notice signs of a hidden order, of divine intelligence behind it all. This heavenly realm reveals that nothing happens by chance. Even the movements of the stars are overseen by spiritual beings with specific missions. Think about that the next time you gaze at the starry sky. Perhaps each star has a story, a guardian, a purpose. And that was only the first level of this journey. In the higher heavens, things became even more intense. And in the second level, Enoch encountered a dark scene where not all angels remained faithful. The second heaven was not beautiful. It was dark, heavy, full of lamentations. Enoch saw angels suspended between heaven and earth, angels who had rebelled against God. They wept, cried out, and begged for mercy. They were the apostates, those who had betrayed their mission and now lived in a prison of darkness, awaiting final judgment. A scene reminiscent of abandoned prisons, where echoes of the past still cry out for forgiveness. Enoch, though merely a man, felt compassion for them, and it was there, between shadow and sorrow, that Enoch asked to intercede. A simple yet profound detail. He didn't ignore them. He didn't distance himself like someone who judges from afar. He prayed, he asked, he tried. This shows that even in the face of the gravest error, there is still room for intercession. This speaks to us as well. How often do we see someone fallen, trapped in addictions, lies, or bitterness, and remain silent? What if God placed us there to be the intercessor? This heaven reveals that disobedience has a price, and not all angels kept their loyalty. The Bible is full of warnings like this, and Enoch saw them with his own eyes. But even in that dark environment, there was a lesson. God's justice never fails, but it's also not indifferent to sincere repentance. Enoch ascended to yet another level, and what he found in the third heaven was the absolute opposite, a place of peace, purity, and a tree that few dare to understand. After the darkness of the second heaven, Enoch encountered something unimaginable, an indescribable paradise. Fragrant trees released heavenly aromas, rivers of honey and milk flowed through the fields, and angelic sounds filled the air like living music. At the center of this place shone the tree of life, not just a symbol, but a living, pulsing entity guarded by 300 angels. It was the space reserved for the righteous, those who lived with integrity, faith, and reverence for the Most High. A fragment of Eden, suspended in the heights. This third heaven was not just beautiful, it was sacred. Every detail had a purpose. The wine that restored, the milk that healed, the aroma that soothed the soul. It was like entering a secret library where the books teach not just through words, but through presence. The tree of life, for example, did not feed the body, it fed the spirit. Today, this echoes in how we seek peace in all the wrong places. Maybe what we need is not a physical refuge, but a spiritual reunion with that place that dwells within us. Enoch beheld that paradise with human eyes, but a soul already nearly transformed. And while many see faith as suffering, he testified that the reward does exist, and it is tangible. It's not just a promise, it's real. The Bible speaks of paradise as a destination. Enoch saw it as a state of being, a reminder that even amid the chaos of life, we can still experience glimpses of heaven. But if the third heaven was a balm, the fourth would bring a knowledge that challenged time, space, and human understanding. In the fourth heaven, Enoch didn't see decorative constellations. He saw celestial gears, portals from which the sun and moon would exit and return, flaming creatures escorting the stars, and angels who controlled the cosmic elements with mathematical precision. It was like entering the command center of the universe. Everything there followed an invisible yet absolute order. A slight delay in the sun's rising time, and chaos would reign. Enoch understood what we call time, season, and rhythm as spiritual guardians. These angels were like the universe's programmers. They governed cycles, eclipses, solstices, every detail recorded with reverence. Have you ever thought about that? When you watch a sunrise or a full moon, you might actually be witnessing a cosmic liturgy in motion. It's not just poetry, it's divine structure. Enoch saw phoenix-like creatures made of light who didn't just exist, they worshipped God through their movements in the sky. It was praise in the form of orbit. This heaven shows us that nothing in the universe happens by chance. If even the sun's course is managed by angels, how can we doubt that our lives also have cycles, appointed times, sacred seasons? Sometimes we insist on planting in winter or harvesting in a time of spiritual drought, and we become frustrated. The fourth heaven teaches there is a time set by God, but not everyone respects that time, and those who ignore it, those who follow the path of wickedness, their destiny is revealed in the next level. Enoch was then taken to a place completely opposite to paradise, a domain of horror made of fire, ice, and suffocated screams. It was like walking through a nightmare, but he was fully awake. There were the wicked, those who rejected the truth of the Bible, exploited the poor, mocked sacred things, and worshipped dead idols. It wasn't a generic hell. It was a realm reserved for those who deliberately defied divine justice. Enoch saw with his own eyes the fate of those who play with the sacred. This realm was ruled by merciless angels, executors of God's justice. There was no negotiation, no escape. Every soul there knew exactly why they were in that place. This reminds us that judgment is not random. It's a response. We're not talking about cruel punishment, but a natural return to the choices each one made in life. Like a mirror that only reflects what we put in front of it. If you plant injustice, you don't harvest peace. If you spend your life mocking faith, don't expect divine embrace in the end. As Enoch witnessed that place, he realized that God's love is real, but so is his justice. That dark heaven reveals a principle many ignore today. Not every beautiful path leads to a good destination. And the most terrifying part? Many of those souls may have once heard the truth and simply laughed. But what comes after this darkness isn't just judgment. It's a revelation about those who caused the decay, the watchers who rebelled in the fifth heaven. In the fifth heaven, Enoch encountered the infamous Grigori, the watchers. Angels appointed by God to watch over humanity, but who broke their vows. They didn't just observe humans, they fell in love with them, took wives and fathered hybrid children, violent giants who corrupted the entire earth. What was meant to be protection became destruction. Sound familiar? How many times do leaders or guardians fall to desire, and what should have been a blessing turns into a curse? These angels were imprisoned not because they loved, but because they disobeyed. Love that violates divine order ceases to be love and becomes rebellion. It's like a police officer using his weapon to oppress instead of protect. The problem isn't the power, but how it's used. Enoch saw these watchers prostrated, bitter, fully aware of the consequences of each choice. There was no victimhood, only pain, remorse, and silence. Because even the heavens know when the time to speak has ended, this part of the journey reveals something uncomfortable. Not every spiritual being is trustworthy. Not everyone who claims to be sent by God truly is. The Bible has always warned us about this, and Enoch confirmed it with his own eyes. The fifth heaven is a reminder that gifts without character lead to downfall. But Enoch didn't stop there. In the sixth heaven, he found the complete opposite of those rebellious angels, beings who governed with order, recorded with faithfulness, and sang with reverence. In the sixth heaven, Enoch saw something few dare to imagine, an impeccable divine organization where everything is recorded, ordered, and celebrated. Guardian angels documented the deeds of every human being, from thoughts to intentions. Nothing went unnoticed. Others controlled the seasons, the winds, the rivers, and vegetation. It was like a spiritual operations center where everything functioned in perfect synchronicity. Unlike human chaos, here, peace was born from order. These angels didn't just work, they worshipped. While serving, they sang praises to the Most High with indescribable harmony. It was as if every action was an act of worship. This teaches a profound truth. Even the simplest tasks can become spiritual when done with the right heart. Washing dishes, caring for children, driving to work, everything can become praise if the spirit is in tune with the Creator. Enoch saw this with his own eyes. A heaven where work and worship were one and the same. This heaven makes us reconsider our daily lives. Are we living with purpose, or merely surviving on autopilot? The sixth heaven shows that there is a kind of life where even responsibilities become seeds of eternity. And perhaps that's why, as Enoch ascended even further, he entered a realm no mortal had ever dared to step into, the heavens where the throne and the absolute glory of God reside. From the seventh heaven onward, Enoch entered domains where human language barely reaches. He saw countless angels made of fire, light, and praise. But it wasn't chaos, it was order in glorified form. Each heaven above was brighter, more intense, until finally, in the 10th heaven, Enoch found himself before the throne of God himself. An unbearable light enveloped everything. There were no shadows, no doubts, only glory. And there at the center of the universe was the one who is the beginning and the end. Cherubim and seraphim flew around the throne, proclaiming the holiness of the Lord. These were flaming realms, filled with living energy, where even angels bowed in absolute reverence. The most astonishing part? God spoke to Enoch, a simple man standing before the Creator of all things, hearing secrets even the angels didn't know. This shows that God doesn't measure importance as men do. He chooses the humble, the available, those who walk with him in silence, and to them he reveals what is eternal. There, on the throne, there was no doubt about who rules the universe. The entire spiritual structure Enoch had seen in the previous heavens pointed to this moment. Every layer, every angel, every mission, everything converged toward the glory of God. And it was in this encounter that Enoch was transformed, elevated to a role never given to another man. But this transformation involved more than honor. It involved responsibility, record-keeping, and a wisdom no one had carried before. After beholding the throne of God, Enoch did not return the same. The archangel Michael received direct orders to anoint, purify, and glorify Enoch. He was clothed in garments of light, as if he had been transfigured into something beyond human. Then the archangel Pravil, the celestial scribe, handed him sacred books. But these were no ordinary books. They were repositories of divine knowledge itself: creation, time, the destiny of souls, the duties of angels, and the cosmic cycles. Enoch became a celestial scribe. Imagine receiving a direct download from the mind of God. That's exactly what happened. Enoch didn't just see the heavens, he understood the purpose of everything, every season, every creature. He wrote 366 books filled with hidden truths, many of which remain concealed to this day. And that confronts us. How often do we pray for wisdom, but ignore the ways God chooses to give it to us? Enoch wasn't lazy or afraid. He documented everything so that one day the right generation could have access. Enoch's transformation wasn't only spiritual, it was also intellectual. He shows us that faith and wisdom are not enemies, but allies. The more you know God, the more you understand the world. But this revelation carries a weight. What do you do with so much knowledge? Remain silent? Hide it? No. Share it. Because the heavens were not shown to feed pride, but to awaken a deep sense of justice. And that is exactly what Enoch saw in the final heaven, a scale and a choice that every human being must make. As he ended his journey through the 10 heavens, Enoch did not descend with easy answers, but with a sharp sense of responsibility. What he saw was not just majesty, it was judgment. Everything that is hidden will be revealed. Everything done in secret will be judged. Divine justice does not sleep. Every soul, every intention, every act, all will be weighed. But not on man's scale, on God's scale, which measures the heart. That changes everything, because it shows that to live is not just to exist, but to respond. Enoch didn't come back to impress. He came back to warn, to show that the heavens are real, that time is short, and the decision is ours. The Bible is not a symbolic book, it's a map. Enoch is living proof that good and evil exist, and that there are spiritual consequences for everything we do. You can ignore the calling, pretend none of this is real, but that doesn't change the reality Enoch saw with his own eyes. The question is, what will you do with this? Enoch's vision ends with a call to faith, but also to action. Because knowing and not acting is the same as ignoring. And if everything that was revealed is now within your reach, maybe it's not by chance. Maybe this is the moment to reflect, to change direction, to restore your faith. And don't think it's too late. If God revealed the heavens to an ordinary man like Enoch, imagine what he could reveal to you, if you're willing to listen to what comes next. Now tell me, after all this, how can we keep living as if nothing is happening in the spiritual world? If Enoch, a man like you and me, was called to see what no one had ever seen, what could God be trying to show you today? What have you been ignoring, rationalizing, postponing? Could it be that you too are being called to ascend, not with your feet but with your awareness? What would you do if you knew that heaven is watching you, that every gesture matters, that every choice echoes in eternity? Are you ready for that truth? Or are you still trapped on the surface of things? Comment below, which of these heavens impacted you the most? And more importantly, which one reflects the spiritual moment you're living right now? If this message spoke to you, don't leave without subscribing to the channel. Turn on notifications, because here you won't find more of the same. Here, you'll dive deep into mysteries most people are afraid to face. And remember, knowledge transforms, but only if it's put into practice.